All right, am I ready to roll? Perfect. All right, so we're going to switch gears a little bit and actually start from the top, but you can stay on the ground, and we're all going to lay down nice and flat. So starting from the top, we're going to be working on our cervical spine and our T-spine. So I want everyone to tuck their chin in and then gently lift their head just about an inch off the ground. From here, you're going to slowly turn to the side, doesn't matter which, and then slowly turn to the other side. You'll feel a light stretch in the back of the neck and head, and then you'll feel the front side working if we have the right muscle activation. You can rest it after that first rep, and we're going to do 5 in total. Tuck the chin, gently lift the head, and slowly turn to both sides. Over the last couple of years, we've all gotten more mindful of our posture thanks to the lovely use of our phones and computers. So this is one way to help work on your neck strength and range of motion to help make sure everything is moving smoothly. If you were to work this as part of your mobility routine, you would do 2 sets of 10 really slow reps, taking your time so that you can feel everything and be aware if something feels a little bit off from side to side. Since it's our neck, we don't want to do anything too quick or too aggressively. And then once you get your 5th rep, we'll move on to the next movement. You could also work on this standing as long as you go up against the wall so you can really keep everything lined up smoothly. Next up, let's all grab our foam rollers. Let me grab mine. Yoink. So with our foam rollers, we're all going to lie on our side like Leonardo DiCaprio is going to paint us. Foam rollers there to put our leg under for support, and then our arms are going to be long. We're going to go into sideline T-spine rotation. Have your eyes follow your fingertips as you slowly open up. And then if you can, try to reach the other side of the ground. We're going to do 6 reps on each side. And once you hit your stopping point, if you cannot reach the ground, I want you to take a big breath in and then a long, slow exhale so that we can focus on reducing tension at our end range of motion. A lot of mobility work and flexibility work and even stability work is rooted in the breath and creating or reducing tension. So as you take those long exhales, think reducing tension, try to become more aware of areas that have a lot of tension in case you are compensating through an area we don't want to work. And once you get 6 reps on each side, we'll switch sides. Once again, we should be following our fingertips and turning our head throughout the whole motion to get the most bang for our buck. Again, trying to slow down and tell ourselves, reduce tension, ease and relax. This is as much a mental thing as it is a physical thing. And then Liz, let's adjust the foam roller so that it's on the ground, like this. Bottom leg should be long. There you go. Now, once we get 6 reps on each side, we can also upright, and then I'll show you the next drill. So slight typo on the packet when you grab this later, but it says foam roller, T-spine rotations twice. That first one is extension, which is what we're going to work on next. If we think about our spine, it rotates, which we just worked on, but it also flexes and extends. It also laterally flexes, and it should be able to do all of these without pain or discomfort. If we have pain or discomfort, then it looks like we have some trees to trim so that we can create a nice smooth pathway. But for this next one, you can put this in slightly different positions depending on what you need, but we're gonna try and get the foam roller behind our shoulder blades. Once you're there, your legs can be bent for comfort. Then your hands can either be at your shoulders or behind your head, whatever is more comfortable for you. Once you're there, breathe out and extend over the foam roller. And breathe in as you come back, gently and slowly through the reps so you can find your groove. If you need to adjust the foam roller, do so. Once again, breathing in as we come back, breathing out as we go backwards over the roller. That way we can exhale on our stretch, so we can really stretch and feel it in the front side of our abs. There we go, just like that. We're gonna go for 8 reps on this one. Another common exercise that we do here is our cat-cow or cat-camel, which works on flexion and extension. There are also some variations that would work on the other directions that we need to go in, but we can get into that later. And then for the next one, after you get your 8 reps, you can just sit upright while I demonstrate this. So now we've worked a little bit on our neck and our T-spine and our shoulder mobility. Now we're going to work on kind of that end range of motion, strength, and stability a little bit with our prone floor slide. So for this exercise, some of you have already done it before, where you're going to lay down, gently raise the head so you don't have to kiss the turf, lift your hands up, and then breathe out as you go overhead. Breathe in as the elbows go down, breathe out as you go overhead. We're going to try and get 10 reps, really trying to focus on your shoulder blade, lifting up and moving smoothly up and down. And if the movement up and down is too extreme, just try and hold that W position for a couple seconds at a time. You might notice one side can move and glide more comfortably, or you might lift up unevenly from one side versus the other as your body tries to compensate and find a way to get your elbow and hand and arm upright. Once again, breathe in as your hands come down towards you. Breathe out as they go away from you. And after you get 8 reps, maybe 10 if this feels really good, take advantage of the opportunity and do your reps, and then we'll move on to the next drill. So you might be asking yourself, well, some of these might be kind of hard. If, let's say, that drill was difficult, one way you can work on it, and this would also benefit your other drills because it's working the same area, we can use our yoga block. So everyone will grab their yoga block. They're going to put it around head, right under their wrist, wherever that rests by your side. And then you're just going to try and press into the yoga block for about 3 to 5 seconds and then relax it. And we'll do 5 reps just like that, accumulating a minimum of 15 seconds in total, closer to 25. And then I want you to keep your elbow down as you press into the yoga block. You'll feel your shoulder wake up, kind of like you were doing an isometric exercise, because that's what we're trying to shoot for. Really pressing in like you are trying to open up that space. 3 to 5 second hold. Really try to drive and wake up those back muscles as you press into the yoga block. This has to feel active and intentional. Now we are trying to create tension so that other muscles can reduce their tension and let us open up. Once you get that 25-second range on one arm, do the other side. You might notice that once you remove the yoga block, your arm can rest more comfortably on the ground without as much restriction. How'd that one feel at the shoulder? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now it just kind of drops comfortably, right? So that's why it's important that we work on these things, because they can help our kind of give your body a new stimulation that it needs. That way it can start to make the changes we need and start to activate and deactivate the muscle we need to push your wrist right into the yoga block like that. And if we can't get it there, we can adjust this like that so you can really press into it. And then once you get both shoulders, do the prone floor slide again. Flip over and do the slide and see how it feels once you get both shoulders. Do we get both sides? Perfect. Back to prone floor side and then see the difference. Lift. Good. Sometimes in our programming, we might give you a block, let's say goblet squat or lateral squat with a relatively lightweight for a lot of reps before you go into your heavy squat session or insert whatever lift of your choice. That is a way to help work on getting enough blood flow to that area so that we can work that joint through its full range of motion. And this yoga block exercise is similar to that first priming block. Helps really wake those muscles up, get you deep into that range of motion. That way you can do your main exercise more smoothly. Does that feel easier? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And these are the kind of things that you might already be feeling, oh, I kind of do this as a superset with some other exercises, or this is something I could do upstairs without us there. And it's just kind of a matter of remembering, oh, which ones might be beneficial for me, which ones really seem to help. And once you can remember what that feeling is like, you just have to try and recreate that, and we can always help you kind of get to that point again. Next up, we're going to work on the lower back and the SI joint. So this is one of those really subtle movements that, because we kind of don't get to move around that much in our day-to-day, we kind of forget we're able to do. So what I want everyone to do is lay down, hook lying position, that's what this is here, and then find the bony points of your hip in the front side. Once everyone says that, once you find your bony hip points, say present, and then I'll know. And then once you're there, try to think of your hips like a bucket. Try to dump that bucket towards you, and then dump it away. One of these might be easier than the other, and that's okay. That just might mean that your body tends to rest towards one side versus the other. They might feel the same, which means you might sit pretty evenly. And if you get a weird stretch sensation, that's normal. You may have heard someone discuss anterior pelvic tilting and may have demonized that. It's not necessarily a problem if you rest in one or the other, so long as you are able to get out of it. If mobility is about creating space, opening up a path for you to walk through and move through, you want to think about just being able to do that and get in and out of these different movements. Once again, if the limited amounts of positions that we can get into, and we're going to shoot for about 10 reps here, if having a limited amount of positions tends to lead to pain and discomfort, then having more options tends to help us. If we look at this, this is just helping us learn slight movements so that we can help create more movement options down the line. Once you get your 10 reps, I'm going to have you guys flip over. This one isn't, actually, no, you can lay on your back. Once you get your 10 reps on your pelvic tilt, rest a couple seconds, and then when you're ready, do a normal hip lift or glute bridge for 10 reps. And then try to notice if you feel difference at the hips compared to how you usually do this exercise. And then did that provide any relief for you? Tilting? Does that provide relief? When it comes to the anterior pelvic tilt or posterior pelvic tilt, whatever variation of tilting you have, a lot of times it can be a problem if you are always stuck in that position or any other position and cannot get out of it. As we increase our movement options, that allows us to get in and out of positions more easily, which leads to less dysfunction. A lot of times our problems really stem from being stuck in certain positions and not being able to get out of them. And so once we have that control, we can work on things even when we're still at work. If you know that, oh, I'm kind of really cranking through my back, let me kind of relax those muscles a little bit, reduce that tension. Oh, well, now I feel a whole lot better. And then you just have to remind yourself to stand up and move around and get out of that position if it's something you do often. Next, let's all sit upright. We're going to try and get our legs in this 90-90 position. If you know one side is more comfortable naturally, lean into that side while we loosen up the hips. And once we're here, we're all going to try and lift your front foot slightly off the ground without everything else moving. Try to hold that for a couple seconds and then relax it. Yep. Everyone is nice. Can you do that without your knee coming up? How about you, Liz? Are you able to keep your knee down and foot up? Ooh. And then now let me see everyone try to flip it and bring up their knee instead of their foot. Without picking up your foot. Once you give it like 3 tries or so, switch to your back leg. Let's try and pick up your foot and bring it back down. If you can do it, you might notice you might cramp at the front side. And then this is probably going to be really easy for most of us. Nice. External rotation, internal rotation. Most of us have more external than internal. Now let's flip it. You can keep your hands down if you need to. And we'll try and do the same thing so you can see the difference between the two sides. Try to lift up your front foot first. There we go. And then after you get a couple reps there, we'll try and go knee. This is the 90-90 hip switch or 90-90 hip position. And you can do many different variations to help get some mobility gains from here. Huh? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I just started cramping off of trying to lift up my foot on that side. Mm-hmm. So with this, the lift offs are one way to progress this once you can comfortably stay in this position. Other ways to work on this too is that you might notice everyone's kind of leaning to a different direction or position. Even just working and kind of staying upright can help work on progressing this movement. Like you might start sitting back, and then as you get more mobile, you're able to bring your hips to the ground a little bit more and sit up more upright. And even just holding the position can help improve your mobility. Because again, it's about spending time in these positions, using the new road. That way we can keep the road nice and smooth. Yup. And so another way to help progress or even regress this is if, let's say, I couldn't bring my knee down, put a yoga block there. And then I can press into that yoga block, and that can help me bring my leg down. So Danny, I recommend trying that actually. Grab your yoga block, put it under that front knee, press into it. Try to spread your hips away like so. Yeah, I want everyone to try that too, actually. With or without the yoga block, try to separate your legs. This foot goes that way, this knee goes the other way. And you'll feel it right in the hip, and it's almost spreading the ground away from here. And you should feel the tension throughout your hips. For you, my friend, there, and press into the yoga block. With this leg. Yep, like you're trying to open up. You'll feel it in your glute. Press, 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 and then take the yoga block away. And then it drops. Feels a little more comfortable. And now, Brett, did you cramp up over there? Did you cramp up a little bit over there? Yep. And then try the other side as well. You'll notice a difference. And once again, it is okay to be a little asymmetrical. We usually only run into issues when it becomes too extreme or when there's something new added into the mix that the body cannot account for. Because we are asymmetrical creatures, and sometimes that is to our benefit. And then sit comfortably, normally, let things relax, get into a position that works for you. Now, I'm going to demonstrate the next one, and I want, actually, you guys can all sit there for 1 second. Let me grab lacrosse balls for this next drill. All right, we're gonna go 2 folks at a time. I'm gonna have Brett and Liz first. Let's get into a tabletop. Everyone's gonna get into a tabletop position. The 2 of you are gonna put 1 lacrosse ball behind your knee for this. And then Danny, Connell, you guys can also get into a tabletop position. With that yoga ball, with that lacrosse ball behind your knee, we're gonna go into hip cars, controlled articular rotation. 5 reps, really slow and controlled, kicking back, opening up wide, making a big circle with the knee, and then bringing it in. Trying to keep our hips as steady as we can. Once you get 5 on one side, we're going for 5 on the other. And then once we get 5 on each side, we'll hand off the lacrosse balls to the other pair so that you can feel the difference between with it and without it. And with this movement, it's really about greasing the groove and feeling every little position that your hip can go into. That way you can get familiar with the joint and your options with it. Put it parallel behind your knee and keep it there while you do your next 5 reps of hip circles. If we all went backwards to forward, so let's all go forwards to backwards so we can get both sides. And really try to control so you can get through every little spot on your hip socket. Like you're scraping a pudding cup with your spoon, getting every little bit. So what we may have noticed is that it was a very different sensation with the lacrosse ball versus without. That is because having the lacrosse ball there allows some muscles to create more tension, which will allow their antagonist or the muscle that works opposite to them to reduce tension. I guess it's just a velocity ghost. And so if we think of, let's say, our supersets when we train, if you have dumbbell bench press and single arm row, that is a superset of antagonist muscles. While the front of while your chest is working when you bench press, your back muscles are relaxing more, stretching to a degree, depends which one we're talking about, while you're pressing and lengthening them, and vice versa when you go to do your rows. What studies have shown is that this type of training can allow you to work a deeper range of motion on top of being more time efficient, but we already know that part, which can allow you to lengthen these muscles and keep them stronger and healthier because they are working through a full range of motion. These full ranges of motion help us have more movement options because we have more paved roads, which allows us to perform more and be in better postures and then perform. Our performance comes after everything else because F1 needs a track to race on before they can go anywhere. I think that really kind of puts it all together. But the very last thing we're going to work on is our ankles. But to do that, I'm actually going to have everyone stand up and stand on their feet. So in modern day society, we forget that we were apes that used to climb trees, and our feet have also forgotten that. So what I want everyone to do is try to pick up their big toe without their little toes coming up, and then alternate, try to pick up their 4 little toes without their big toe coming up. Yeah, right? It's so subtly hard, and most people don't even know they cannot do it. Let's say something we got to work on. So we could use that lacrosse ball. Huh? What? Big toe first, then little toes, alternating. Mm-hmm. So if we look at our hand, if we look at our foot like a hand, then we get to see why it's kind of important that we're able to do little things like this, because there's a lot of movement going on at the foot that can affect our movement up the chain. If we can't move smoothly through our foot, we won't move smoothly through our ankle, which means we won't move smoothly through our knee or our hip, and you might even feel it all the way up the chain from that point on. So now that we did a little bit of toe yoga, we're going to take a knee. And we're going to rock forward 3 times. Try to keep your heel down and drive your knee past your second toe. Do both sides, and then I want everyone to grab their, well, I want everyone to stand up, actually. Actually, no, grab your kettlebells once you get 3 reps. Good. Well, I'll take a knee. We'll put our kettlebells on top of our knee. Now, ideally, if we were really training this, we would all probably go up a notch or 2. That way we can really load this. And then now, balancing that kettlebell, we're going to drive our knee past our second toe. It should feel a little different. We're going to get 5 reps. You might hear a crack, you might hear a pop, and that's usually just bubbles in the joint space, popping, air bubbles specifically, maybe a little inflammation depending on if it's an angry joint or not. But as long as there's no pain, those noises are not a problem. Once you get 5 one way, do 5 on the other side, and then retest. And feel free to use the kettlebell weight a little bit and your own body weight to kind of put more pressure so you can really push things around and get deeper into that joint. Look. Once you get your 5 reps with weight, put it away and then retest. See how it feels without any weight. Does it feel a little easier than it did the first time around? And then once we retest, you can stand up and do toe yoga again. Let me know if anyone found a difference. Huh? The toe yoga? Not from that specifically, but someone might notice a difference, and it helps put the picture together of how all the joints are connected, the tissues are connected, and if we work on one area, another area might find improvement, which is why it's so important that we do work on our mobility. Now, let's say we were to grab those lacrosse balls and roll out the bottom of your foot, just like the foam roller does for our legs and any other area. The lacrosse ball can help loosen up those tissues, and it can help reduce their tension. That way they can get to their full length and get a good stretch. That way we can work that full range. There you go. Cool, right? I'm a wizard. Welcome, Brett. Yeah, so fun fact. Regarding the big toe, it's actually really important that it moves well, and most people don't know whether they can or not. So a good way to test it is honestly just by taking a knee and seeing, can you keep your toes down? You may see here that I cannot. Even my big toe kind of comes off the ground a little bit. I have no big toe mobility, and I just found that out like 4 years ago. You have very good toe mobility because that looked really easy for you. Or relatively decent toe mobility. And then I think it was Colin, a couple months ago, we found out you don't have a lot of toe mobility. And so a fantastic example of where mobility restrictions can lead to issues is if, let's say, you look at me when I stand up for a calf raise, you might notice my ankles might dip a little bit or they'll stay straight up. There it is. There's a little roll off to the side. That's me compensating because I don't have that range of motion through my big toe. But Liz, you don't roll as much. Connell doesn't actually. Connell rolls. I know his big toes don't have a lot of mobility. You do, so your toes don't roll. Your ankles don't roll. So that's a really simple. That's a good thing because it means you're able to stay stacked instead of your joints falling out of alignment if we go back to that posture. So since I don't have big toe mobility, my joints don't align that well during calf raises or when I'm pushing off of the balls of my feet, which eventually is probably going to affect something. What a shocker. I was in the athletic trainer's room my entire collegiate career. Didn't have movement options. Didn't have the best of posture. I was in pain or just inefficient. And once again, we will always find people who can get away with this like it's nobody's problem. their bodies just work that well and compensate very well. But most of us aren't that fortunate, so we do a little bit of extra work so that we can also perform just like they can. Because at the end of the day, just because we might need a little bit extra time to warm up and to prepare, that doesn't mean we cannot perform. And it's just a matter of being consistent so that we can see those adaptations. So it's being consistent so that we can really learn how to control that tension and increase it or decrease it at will. That way you can just sit in the car and notice your neck is getting stiff because you're getting stressed out, and take a big deep breath and relax it before you flip out on a child. Now, last couple minutes, I do have a one-on-one coming up soon. I'll answer any questions, comments, and concerns, and we can talk about creating your own routine. Once again, those 3 drills are our ankle mobility drill, our overhead squat, and our shoulder reach. I want all of you to do your squats 5 times, reaching up to the sky, and notice if you feel a difference. Phenomenal. And then after we get our 5 reps on our squats, do your shoulder mobility drill, see if you got a little bit closer, a little bit better. And then what I want all of you to do is to keep this in mind, and remember, you have to work on this. You may feel a little more mobile right now, but if you don't use this range of motion, which is why we're retesting right now too, then it'll just go back to where it was before. All right, questions, comments, concerns? You know the deal.
How would you suggest people put together, like, when I look at this, I think I would be putting together like a nice 5 to 8 minute routine. I get it consistently before I work out. Maybe 3 or 4 times a week, whatever it is. So like, how do you pick which one to be, or do you suggest putting so it's not like, it's like 20 to 25 minutes, never do it.
Yeah. So my recommendation, this is what I have found helped me to be the most consistent with it, is to throw it in at a time where you're already going to be doing something. So maybe instead of just hopping on the bike or the rower for 2 to 5 minutes, kind of aimlessly warming up, you can do that maybe for a little bit of less time. And then remember, okay, let's see. I know they give me that ankle drill all the time and open books with the band. Those always seem to help me feel a lot better. That's probably a great drill to be part of your warm up, and that can look anything along the lines of 2 sets of 10 for both drills, or maybe it's just 1 round of like 8 to 10 reps if you have more drills involved. It really depends on what you feel you need, and if you're not sure, you can talk to me and Jesse about it, and we can build one of these. We can build this routine based off on some other things that you might need. But if we're looking at what we did today, a lot of this is on the packet that we have for you here. So you can maybe circle one of these drills, 2, 3 of these drills, and say, I'm going to do that 2 to 3 rounds on the days I work out, maybe 1 round on the days I don't, just to help keep things consistent and get into a routine. And then you'll see how you feel after a couple of weeks, because it does take time, and then progress.
The other option suggested as well is that if you have the body part that you want to focus on, when you fill out your questionnaire at the end of the month, you could say, I want to work on my shoulder bone. So they can put it a little bit like, usually, we call it active rest. Like instead of resting for a minute, you just go right back up. You almost sneak them in within your hour and not worry about it, but just like maybe it's ankle 1 time, maybe it's shoulder mobility one month. Like slowly rotate it, put some mobility to the program, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Other options too is let's say at the end of the session is also an option to fill some of these in. Let's say if you know you have some mobility things you want to work on, and maybe you know you're not going to be able to get into the gym because it's the weekend, it's Friday, you're not going to be in until Monday. Oh wait, we have a holiday, we're not in until Tuesday. Maybe you go upstairs with a kettlebell, grab a band, and work on some of these drills that you know are helpful for you. Or you can ask, hey, can you give me some drills to work on this aspect of mobility, and then we can slip it in there. Another point when it comes to working on flexibility, a great time to throw it in is at the end of your workout. It helps reduce the tension you just created lifting weights, which will help you recover a little bit better because you're walking out of here with less tension. You're more relaxed, which will help you get into a better mental state and allow you to recover more quickly. It's all about finding what works best for your schedule and your routine. That way you can actually do it and accumulate that time of tension reduction. Yes, of course. That can help, yes. for best results, you should be a little bit warmed up, but for the sake of time and efficiency, and if you know it's the only way you're going to get it in, maybe it is your warm up. Or maybe you do it a little bit cold. You'll still get benefits more than you would if you didn't do anything at all. Think about it. It's why we emphasize coming into the gym. Even if we modify everything, it's better than nothing at all. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? All right, thank you very much. Don't be afraid to grab your packet, and then you are all set. We can pop our shoes on. We'll put our foam rollers, our yoga blocks, and all of our equipment away, and then we can keep building on this throughout the weeks during our sessions. Thank you very much for joining me, folks. Olivia, we can grab a foam roller. We're hitting calves, quads, adductors, glutes, hamstrings, back if you need it, side if you need it. And then we can